Welcome everyone to Wrasslin Raw!
Listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when the World Wrestling Federation developed a little bit of an attitude. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
That motherfucker hit me in the knee, asshole!
Joe Giammatteo.
We are the nation, live and in color. Don't diss the man or we'll both rush your mother.
Thanks, Woofy D.
10 times. No. That was 10 times better than anything PG-13 has spit so far.
Woofy A.
I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett. We're going to examine WWE history, one episode of Raw at a time. In this episode of Wrasslin' Raw, we're going to be talking about the Raw that aired on February 17th, 1997. This Raw was recorded at the Nashville Arena in Nashville, Tennessee, and features Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, then. Let's get into it. Just a strange thing to note right here at the top. I don't know if you guys had this on your screens or not, but the thumbnail for this episode on the cock was a close-up of tears rolling down Shawn Michaels' face.
For like the third week in a row.
Well, that knee really hurts.
This Pagliacci shit's getting old. Things are going to start out with Psycho Sid coming down to the ring because there's that championship match, remember? That we got promised after everything that was going on. Many audibles were called leading up to this Monday Night Raw, so...
Should keep people tuned in, right?
There's all kinds of things going on. And you would think that, yes, that they would strategize that way, considering they're in the middle of a ratings war with some significant competition. Sid was very happy to be there. The crowd was into it. Pyro looked great. And I was surprised, though, as Sid and Bret weren't listed as being the first match on the card here. So, wondering if maybe my sources got a little screwed up. And then Bret Hart's music started up. We were preparing to get this title match going. Before the bell could get rung, though, Steve Austin was out of nowhere, attacking Bret Hart. Jim Ross was shouting, "He's a rabid animal!" Sid ended up going after Austin before Bret could get back on him. This turned into a pull-apart with a ring full of officials. Sid was selling a hurt knee and screaming, "Damn it!" into the camera. After Austin was ejected, Sid limped back into the ring with Pat Patterson, Gerald Briscoe, and 3 referees remaining. Before any decision was made here, JR announced that it didn't look like this match was going to happen. Rather than find out the outcome of all that, though, we're going to take another look at what we all collectively together did to Shawn Michaels, each of us adding our signatures to his marching papers when we all expected too much of him. That too much being losing to Bret Hart once. That was followed by photo highlights of the main event from last night's In Your House, the Final Four, and I liked the close-up of the distraught Undertaker from that. JR was saying that Taker was so upset, and that was highlighted by the black tear on the Undertaker's cheek in perfect frame there on our screens. Then we went to Kevin Oh My God Kelly backstage with Sid. Sid threw out some nonsense implying he was not happy with events thus far. Before we go any farther, what a start to this episode, guys. It feels like they're making an attempt at getting us to stick around for the next 2 hours. Who would have thought? How novel. Ryan, what did you think of how we started things off tonight?
Yeah, I agree. I thought they did a pretty decent job. You know, we start out, we think we're getting this title match from the beginning here, and we get a swerve. It's going to be later on. And with that is Stone Cold coming out, continuing this long ongoing story with Bret Hart. They really showed the difficulties of working with a live camera when the one camera cut right to Sid, and as he's screaming at someone, "That motherfucker took out my knee." I loved it. I popped when I heard that. I was surprised, though, that the cock didn't bleep it out. They bleeped out many other things, but they left in motherfucker right here. No problem. The promo, pretty typical Sid promo, but I was happy to hear that we were going to get this match later on. We weren't going to just skip it.
I feel a little bit indifferent about it.
Oh.
I kind of wanted to see it first. but we didn't. More predictability with Austin.
Yeah.
I don't know. As soon as Sid comes out and we're getting ready for the match, immediately I'm like, well, I smell some stone cold interference here. That's kind of where we are at this point with anything that's not a Stone Cold versus Bret Hart match. And one of those guys is in the ring. But they're telling us it's going to happen. You know, Sid has this injured knee now, but they're telling us it's going to happen. So I guess I'm not that upset about it.
You know, it's almost like it's contagious. This injured knee's been going around the WWF.
Knee watch. Yeah.
Knee watch 2022. Yeah.
Full effect.
Yeah. Well, Joe, I admire your willingness to be patient with the show format here to see if we'll maybe get this later on and see if they can keep you. So
it's kind of like a nice break. Like I'm going to switch to Nitro because we all know what's coming next. I'm going to switch over to Nitro and I'll switch back. I'll check it out, see what's going on.
Well, let's find out if this was enough to keep us tuned in. Our first match of the night. Mark Marrow with Sable defeats Savio Vega with the Nation of Domination by disqualification in 4 minutes and 15 seconds. First note upon seeing Mark Marrow, Knee Watch 2022 continues. This motherfucker is still walking, Joe. He's still fucking walking.
But did you see him favoring that left knee a little bit?
No.
I swear to you.
I was looking for it.
No, you weren't.
Sable is still wearing those sunglasses. She got so close to Marrow's pyro that I thought this was going to turn into a Michael Jackson Pepsi commercial. Upon the Nation's entrance, PG-13 are so fucking terrible at rapping the Nation intro. They have scripted lyrics. There is no improvisation here at all, and they still can't fucking do it. Just memorize the shit. My God. That being said, I do love the entrance still. The group in the ring throwing the fist up to salute Farouk up in the balcony. That was cool as hell. Just wish it was a different cast of characters down there doing it. Marrow got his shit in at the start. 3 arm drag takedowns, drop kick to put out Savio, and a somersault plancha onto Savio to the floor. You know, I wish I started a running count of this sequence, this series of moves when Marrow first debuted, because it's literally in damn near every match.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can set your watch to it. Arm drag
Carbon
takedown.
Copy matches every time.
Times 3, yep. And we went to a split screen to highlight Marrow's predictability just in time to de-emphasize an amazing spinning heel kick from Savio Vega. At one point, Savio tossed Marrow out of the ring. One of the PG-13 members, couldn't tell which one, was confused for a minute before remembering to attack Marrow. That drew Sable over. Sable threw some really shitty-looking punt-style kicks that PG-13 guy oversold. And she had to walk calmly through the rest of the Nation to get back to her corner. After she did that, that set things up for the Nation to chase her up into the ring, which is what drew the DQ. Although, since she's on Marrow's side and she is the one entering the ring, you would think the DQ would favor Savio. But then again, I'm surprised that a WWF referee would call for the bell that quickly for any kind of rule violation, so... But then out of nowhere, Ahmed Johnson in a clown suit and carrying that enormous 2x4.
It looks like he maybe chopped a couple feet off of it, though.
Yeah, not quite as long.
It's like a 20-footer now instead of 24.
Well, the missing weight didn't prevent him from pulling his swings any more than the old one. He was embarrassing everyone around him. Ahmed cleared the ring, and that's pretty much the end of this. Ryan, I am not looking forward to the inevitable tag team match that this is setting up. What did you think of this?
You know, the match started, Mark starts his arm drags, and it was fucking deja vu central. I mean, if the Matrix had this many glitches, you'd have to take it down for a total rebuild with the amount of deja vu that we get with a Mark Marrow match. It's really hard to muster up any energy to watch his matches when you see them start and you're just like, oh, I've seen this before, you know? And the only time he switched it up was, I think, a personal dig at me. He decided to ruin the double noggin knocker. Yeah. Mark Marrow did the double noggin knocker and fucking ruined it for me. Thanks a lot.
A meeting of the minds, so to speak.
The only worse actor in the ring is Sable. Those kicks that Sable gave to Wolfie D were the worst, most pathetic looking things ever. And then Wolfie D sold them like he got hit by a fucking Mack truck. He like jumped up in the air, did a full midair roll. I mean, it was way over the top for how weak these kicks were. The Nation comes in, they circle Mero and Sable, causing Johnson to come down in a big baggy pair of mauve pajamas and untied boots. I guess they were supposed to be hospital scrubs maybe, but I don't know. Every time he comes out here, his outfit gets more and more bizarre. And sadly, someone placed that fucking 2x4 back in his hand. And that's how we finish things up.
Yeah, did you guys see that Sable is now holding the ropes for Mark Mero too?
I missed
catch.
that. No.
I did not.
Yeah, so they're definitely building to something here.
A knee blowout.
And he was limping a little bit, I think.
Sure he was, Joe. Sure he was.
But yeah, this was, as terrible and boring as you would expect a wild man Mark Mero match to be. The kicks were really bad from Sable, but at least it's something different in a Mark Mero match, whether
That's
it's
true.
good or bad.
Yeah.
It's something different. And yeah, Ahmed Johnson desperately needs a personal stylist to work with him in the back. Or maybe ask some of the ladies, Marlena,
Something.
Sunny, Sable, whoever, Funkettes, anyone.
Yeah.
Maybe he did, and they're fucking with him. This
Maybe.
is what they told him to wear.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he wasn't very well liked in the locker room, so maybe that's what happened.
Those clothes that he's been wearing recently, they're almost borderline hedonistic. Like, God, he must just love taking those off to cover himself in baby oil.
Nah.
Let's move it along to backstage with Bret Hart. Bret's going to give us his thoughts on Stone Cold interjecting himself into Bret's match. Bret says that he should just get used to Stone Cold's unchecked aggression, and like Joe said earlier, this is just kind of where we're at. I think he's right. Joe, I think you're right. That was a great point. Bret was calm here until Lawler prompted him, and after that, Bret put some energy into it, and this interview ramped up. Topics went from Sid to The Undertaker, and ending with Shut Up Lawler from Bret. It was just a fantastic segment that entertained the hell out of me. Like I said, things moving quickly, so just briefly, Joe, what did you think of Bret Hart's mini interview here?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, he's noting that he's not afraid to take on anybody. He's the new champion, and he'll take on anyone. And yeah, you mentioned Lawler kind of, I guess, taking control of the questioning to get things moving, kind of like what Mean Gene used to do back in the day. So yeah, pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I thought Bret Hart had a pretty solid promo here. Enjoyed the leather Calgary Hitman jacket behind him.
Yeah.
And then also loved the way Bret Hart ended this with a "Shut up, Lawler."
All right, let's go now into our next match. Rocky Maivia defeats Leif Cassidy by pinfall in 9 minutes and 36 seconds to retain the WWF Intercontinental Championship. Leif got the jobber treatment, Rocky got an extended entrance, but the biggest pop of all was for Sunny, coming down to tickle Rocky with her feather boa. Sunny was looking fantastic in this pink, I don't know what you'd call it, maybe like a cabana outfit or something.
I know that we're not there yet, but she looked like one of the Godfather's hoes.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. In the end, though, she was just here to ring the bell. She served no other purpose than to be eye candy and ding ding. Through the first couple minutes of this, I wasn't feeling any energy here. Not sure why. There wasn't anything glaring to point out. Leif and Rocky were both looking good enough in the ring. My first big pop of this match was Jerry Lawler calling Stu and Helen Hart modern Shakespeares because of the amount of tragedies they produced. I fucking popped. I popped so hard for that. And then split screen with Hunter Hearst Helmsley to get his opinions on Rocky Maivia. This was another one of those instances of Triple H words, but Hunter Hearst Helmsley's gimmick putting out the promo. Back in the ring, things were still there, not boring per se, but not exciting either. I loved the split-screen view showing commentary. JR literally leaning into the call with Jerry Lawler there, eyes laser-focused on the match, just as things should be. In 2 weeks, we'll be getting the finals of the European Championship tournament that's taking place over in Germany. We don't get any other updates on where that's going or where that's been, so who knows where we're at there. Lawler does note briefly here at this point an ECW sign next to commentary. JR says he doesn't pay attention to signs. And we get some bad news and good news from Dr. James Andrews later on. That's per JR. They've got some news on Shawn Michaels. And finally, the most exciting spot in all of this, Rocky's finisher, the shoulder breaker. It looked great. And that was it for the match. Immediately after, though, Lawler pulls the ECW sign off of the fan to cut a promo on ECW. The funniest part of that was that the fan reached down under the commentary table and pulled out another ECW sign where it was conveniently left for him on the commentary side of the barrier.
Those weren't planted signs at all.
Not at all.
No jailbird or anything.
Yeah.
Lawler was talking some smack and then threw down a challenge. Anyone on ECW wanting to fight needs to come out on Raw next week. Joe, the match here wasn't nearly as interesting as the fact that the WWF is paying attention to a rival promotion. What did you think of this match and its aftermath?
Yeah, the cross promotion here is going to be happening with ECW, and to me it's going to benefit guys like Leif Cassidy.
Yeah.
You know, he's basically, like you guys have been saying, he's basically full-blown Al Snow here without being called Al Snow, just by his look. Kind of seeing the beginning of that. It's ironic to me that they would have this little ECW segment during a Leif Cassidy match. So yeah. I mean, next week, something to look forward to. You know, we're teasing something that is going to make me want to tune in next week. So
yeah,
very good job at cross promoting here. At this point, I probably didn't even know what ECW was. I was not a big ECW fan, and probably had no idea what it was at this point. So pretty exciting stuff. We've talked about it a little bit before about, you know, Rocky Maivia getting this push and why fans pushed back so much. And I'm going to try to pay attention a little bit more, but I really notice here, Rocky just looks like a heel to me. Like he doesn't look like a babyface right now. And maybe that's part of why they were kind of pushing back on it, because he just doesn't look comfortable as this type of baby face. And, you know, it's gonna last a little bit longer, so I'm gonna pay a little bit more attention to that.
You know, this match, Bartlett, I agree with you. There was nothing glaring about it one way or the other, but for the most part, fairly solid out of both guys. I mean, you could tell why Leif Cassidy later, or Al Snow, whatever, later on in his career will become a trainer, because I think you could definitely see he's a student of his craft here. You know, he knows all the different holds and moves and the positions that he needs to be in for them. Just this match lacked a little bit of the flashiness that would really catch your attention. To be honest with you, I think it's exactly where it deserved to be. It was a run-of-the-mill mid-card match, and I think it served its purpose as that, to try and just build up Rocky a little bit, your new IC champ, to someone that you knew he was going to lose to, because this is, for the most part, a jobber match. I didn't give it to Al Snow here because I think I already have it picked out exactly where I'm going to give him that jobber of the week spot. It was close here, but he did not get it here. The stuff after with ECW, I really enjoyed. I loved the King relating them to Escape from New York, all the people that lived in New York. Great movie with a young Kurt Russell, one of my favorites of all time. But definitely a little collaborative push here, because the King even spells out what ECW means, Extreme Championship Wrestling, he says at one point. So he's definitely putting them over, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen next week, to see a confrontation here.
Yeah, 100% agreed on that. And also, Joe, I agree with you. Like, I don't think at this point I would have known what ECW was. I was strictly a WWF guy up to February of 97. So with, you know, the occasional flipping over to WCW, I generally never spent much time there either.
I don't remember this cross promotion in detail, but I remember it happening, and that was my first exposure to ECW.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, next up, we've got Goldust coming down to the ring for an interview with Kevin Oh My God Kelly. I still love Goldust's entrance, the camera focusing on the golden dust floating through the air. It's such a perfect, grand entrance for the gimmick. Goldust cuts a promo aimed at Hunter Hearst Helmsley, delivers it like a 50s big screen actor, like I was trying to think of who I was thinking of, like Gregory Peck or somebody. Like he had a distinct style in his delivery here, and it really sounded like one of those guys. And then, shocker, we got words from Marlena herself. Sorry to say, it felt a little flat. Her voice does not match her image. I greatly prefer the silent mystique that she had before.
She sounds a little southern for being someone from Hollywood.
Yes. But then Helmsley came down to the ring, attacking Goldust. Helmsley hits a pedigree. Marlena steps in to slap Hunter, and that draws that woman, that huge woman, bear-hugging Marlena, shaking her like a rag doll. That's right. That big woman, that huge woman. I was so fucking happy to be hearing Jim Ross calling this. Security shows up to escort this mysterious woman out. We get a close-up of Marlena writhing in pain with Goldust looking down over her. Ryan, I am fucking loving this so far. Chyna is still unnamed, but she was looking great here. What did you think of it?
When it started out with Goldust cutting this babyface promo, I was a little disappointed at first because his character and gimmick doesn't match being a babyface. And when he was licking Mankind's face, that was perfect. Here, him trying to deliver these babyface words, they fall a little bit flat. He was better as a heel. But when Hunter comes out and after he gets his pedigree put on and Marlena then slaps him and Chyna comes out, man, was that fantastic. I mean, she grabs Marlena and just ragdolls her. I mean, that's what JR says. She looks like a ragdoll. What it looked like to me was like she was a Barbie doll being like swung around. I mean, Chyna just looked unbelievable and looked like a fucking monster. We got a little bit of a view of her the night before at the pay-per-view, but we got a good view of her tonight and I loved it. JR screaming, she needs to go to jail, put her in jail. And the way that her and King both were putting it over, like this was a shoot, like it wasn't a work. It was a really good job by everyone. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I knew what was coming here just from, seeing this in highlights over the years and stuff, and I was pretty excited for it. Hearing the word Amazon brought back some memories. We're going to be hearing that word, the overuse of the word Amazon. But yeah, pretty good call here by Lawler and Jim Ross, and just really good creative stuff here for Chyna's early days here as a debut of this, mysterious woman that we don't know who it is, but just really creative. Again, even though she's not saying anything or really, wrestling, but she's already someone of huge interest. Like, what is going on here?
Just her presence.
Yeah. So again, I'm just putting Chyna over for how awesome she was and just the great creative behind it.
I think that's something, a lot of the podcasts that are out right now that are by people in the business, they didn't like her. It sounds like she might have been really hard to work with and different things, but us as fans.
Oh, yeah.
She was great. And I think she maybe doesn't get talked about enough because most of the time the people doing the talking about everything are people involved in the business and they weren't crazy about her. Mm-hmm. But from a fan's point of view, she was fucking on the money and great. I mean, she was a spectacle.
Yeah.
Well, it's the believability, I mean, it's believable that she can go in there and beat up some guys, you know, not just little Marlena, like she can go in and beat up some guys.
Grabbing Marlena, she looked like she was twice the size of Marlena.
Yeah.
She's standing out in such contrast here to the other women that we've got in the WWF. She's up against Sunny, she's up against Sable, Marlena. She's showing up as this jacked Amazon, and it's stand out, As everybody else kept staying beautiful, you can kind of tell where she had to Or maybe she thought she had to start with plastic surgery enhancements, start with maybe steroid enhancements. We have a very bare bones Chyna here, and I thought it was really great to see. It almost made me wish she could have stayed this way moving forward through the future. All right, let's move it forward here to our next match. The Headbangers, Mosh and Thrasher, defeat the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff, by pinfall in 4 minutes and 3 seconds. We start this tag team match with a split screen to talk to the Nation of Domination about Ahmed Johnson. Farouk lists Ahmed's high-rise penthouse, Ahmed's 2 cars, all of the things that Ahmed's fans and people on the street don't know he has. I was shocked to hear about all of it. I thought Ahmed lost everything with that kidney injury. Farouk keeps it real, though, saying that Ahmed doesn't need to die to go to hell. Ahmed's already in it, and Farouk is the devil. My God. The official challenge is made for a Chicago street fight, whatever the hell that means, between Farouk and Ahmed at WrestleMania. We got the news in another split screen that the championship match will be up next between Bret Hart and Psycho Sid. Oh, by the way, there is a tag team match going on in the ring here. I loved Mosh's clothesline on Jeff Hardy. That looked fantastic, which did set up the Headbangers finisher, which I remembered while watching this. It's called the Stage Dive. Joe, you commented on it last week. I don't think it's been named here on our screens yet, and it's a pretty sweet finisher.
Yeah.
The old Stage Dive. Ryan, this one was short, but it was serviceable, even though we spent a lot of time looking at and talking about other things. What did you think of it?
I thought last week was a nostalgia blast with meeting the Headbangers, but this week we get the Headbangers versus the very first Hardy Boys match. They are together. Both brothers were Jobbers of the Week as singles wrestlers years ago at this point. Matt on the January 9th, 1995 episode, and Jeff on the July 3rd, 1995 episode, if anyone wants to check those out. But here they are together as the Hardy Boys, so that's very exciting to see. I mean, there's not much to really talk about as far as the wrestling goes, because we immediately go to a Farouk promo, and it's so long and he does such a good job that it takes the entire focus away from the match, which is kind of disappointing because the ring action wasn't bad. And we even have JR once we come back to the ring. This time he brings up the White Zombie shirt, which I got a pop off of when he asked JR if he ever listened to White Zombie.
What like some old country person does he say? Like, I'm more of a
I can't remember.
Willie Nelson guy. Or
like Conway.
Yeah. Or no, it was Garth Brooks because he's from Oklahoma.
Was it Garth Brooks?
Yeah,
okay, so someone not that old. But the match itself was an afterthought, but the two teams involved here, I thought, did a pretty good job. The finisher looked good, the stage dive, as Bartlett just told us, and excited to see some new blood in the tag team division. So we got the Headbangers a couple weeks ago. Now we got the Hardy Boys. So things are definitely looking up in that department. And this match really hammered home just how great it's been to have JR and the King only on commentary, because it's just so good. And to not have Vince throwing in his awkward pushes that he always tries to put in here is just so great. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, it doesn't sound as fake,
right?
With Vince not being there. The Jeff and Matt Hardy here, like you said, Ryan, this is the first time we've seen them as the Hardy Boys together. It's kind of surprising to me how long the WWF took to develop these guys, because to me they have the it factor like right now. Mm-hmm. So, but they're not going to be a big name for over a year from now. So,
well, even their look right now is basically their jobber look from being singles. Yeah.
But it's just kind of surprising, you see some of these guys that they give a push right away, and then they take guys like the Hardy Boys and they're like, whoa, you guys need to develop a little bit more, Probably
mostly an age thing there, though. They were just so young that people felt they had to wait, or I don't know.
But man, they look good. It almost makes me wonder if maybe somebody told them after this, like, hey, you guys need to be more jobber-like. Quit selling so well out there. Yeah, they look better than 90% of the tag teams that we have seen in the past couple years. So I don't know. I was so impressed with that, but also did not let it distract me too much from the headbangers. I think that we've seen three matches from them now, or two or three, and I feel like they have looked better with each time we've seen them.
And the Italian Stallion got his cut from this match.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Say Boss says pay up. All right, well, let's try again at having that championship match. How about it? I wonder if Sid fist bumped the same people on this trip down the entryway that he did the first time he came out. This time, Brett didn't even make it to the ring. Austin attacked Brett in the hallway that was leading to the entryway. It was a massive pull-apart that Sid and Vince McMahon joined in on. Very surprised to see Vince there. After that, Kevin Kelly showed up to interview Gorilla Monsoon about what's been happening between Austin, Brett, Sid. Gorilla Monsoon says that the WWF doesn't tease you with stuff and then not deliver. We were promised a title defense, and that is exactly what we will have. Joe, did Gorilla Monsoon promising that there would be no bait and switch make you more or less confident that the bait and switch would happen?
Yeah, I mean, we're 0 for 2 now on this match. Yeah, if I didn't know the payoff magic that we're going to get from Bret Hart and Steve Austin at WrestleMania, I'm a little angry with the predictable Bret Hart and Steve Austin stuff. Like I said earlier, it's just, why don't we just have a fucking match between these two already? You know what I mean? Like, let's have another match with the two of them. I don't get it, but I guess, they're big names and they're going to just keep using these guys however they can. And they're probably panicking still with the Shawn Michaels situation. So, that's what we're getting.
Here comes try number 2, and this one, it gets blocked immediately. Stone Cold attacks Bret Hart in the back, and then Sid comes in. We do learn from this, though, Vince is in the building. He helps break this fight apart, so he's just not on commentary, which is a good thing. I also think this starts to show the 2-hour nature that we've moved into. So they've started to have a little bit more emphasis on these storytelling and long formatted interviews and just more emphasis on storytelling in general. So we have a little bit more build up for things than we did in the normal hour-long Raws. And then Gorilla Monsoon, he tells us this will not be a taint tickle. So I don't know if I believe him. We will see, but hopefully he's telling the truth here.
Well, I mean, look at Gorilla Monsoon. That does not look like a man that would leave you with blue balls on the taint tickle.
I agree.
It's a face you can trust. Let's move it now to our next match. Owen Hart defeats Flash Funk by pinfall in 8 minutes and 34 seconds. I know I don't need to, but I'm going to keep saying the Funkettes looked great here. We got the news that Marlena is coughing up blood and was rushed to the hospital.
Vince McMahon was yelling at
Say
JR.
it.
Yes.
Say she's on death's door, you fat fuck. The ring action here wasn't bad, but we immediately went to split screen to take a phone call. That was Paul Heyman calling in to accept Lawler's challenge, letting us know that ECW superstars will be in attendance next week on Monday Night Raw. Heyman says as long as the neighborhood watch doesn't have to be informed that Lawler is in the neighborhood, everybody else will show up, and I got a kick out of that. Quite the ribald dig there, Heyman. This match kind of highlighted to me how out of shape Flash Funk looks in comparison with Owen Hart, and especially the British Bulldog. That does not affect his ring work at all, but maybe neon green, skin-tight leisure suit, whatever the fuck that is, maybe that's not the right choice.
Thigh-high boots.
Yeah, how could you ever take a guy like that seriously?
Yeah.
Ever.
Stripper boots on.
Yeah, like what storyline are you going to ever put him in?
He looks like he's about to take off at any minute. That's the point. It's the high flyer with those wings coming out of his curly boots. The Bulldog came down and had some kind of altercation with Clarence Mason. Not really sure what that was about. But after that, a split screen with Austin backstage. Austin cuts a great promo. He has a great argument about the new no replay rule from the Royal Rumble and Shawn Michaels forfeiting the title. Good points all. And eventually we get to the Bulldog interfering. This was done really well, I thought. It was believable that the referee could have missed it, and it got Owen the pin and the victory. Owen wasn't happy with that, though, and we left the segment with Owen and Bulldog arguing as they exited. Joe, it kind of feels like this story between Owen and Bulldog became a backslider. What did you think of it?
I guess I can talk about the story. Was there even a match to talk about? I mean, we had Paul Heyman, we had Clarence Mason, we had Steve Austin interview, a British Bulldog. I mean, there's so much going on here. Too many distractions, in my opinion. I thought the Clarence Mason distraction stuff was pretty bad and not very creative. Took Flash Funk forever to get up to the top rope when they were doing it. Owen is supposed to be distracted by Clarence Mason, but he's taking too long to be flashy and funky up there. It just didn't work. I don't know. It just looked sloppy and more taint tickling with British Bulldog and Owen Hart. It feels like it's just never going to end. One positive I will say here, though, is Paul Heyman. The guy can cut a promo still to this day and could do it back then for sure. And I got to say that this, to me, is the best use of Jerry Lawler in a non-commentator role so far that we have seen in the 3-4 years that we've been watching this. Because every other thing that Lawler has done up to this point that's not related to commentary has been pretty bad for the most part. But this is really good use of him.
Yeah, I would agree with the use of Lawler here and really the ECW storyline in general. The match itself was just completely forgot about from the very beginning.
Yeah.
You know, JR's updating us on Marlena. By God, she's spitting up blood. I loved, though, the words from Heyman. Heyman did a fantastic job. JR tells King, hey, we have a representative from ECW that wants to talk to you. And Heyman just barks back, not a representative, the owner, operator, and executive producer, Paul Heyman. Great shit from him. He did a really good job accepting this challenge, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen next week with ECW. But this match, we threw everything that we could to distract this match. Split screens left and right. Bulldog coming down and having some unexplained argument with Mason. Then we go right to Stone Cold cutting a good promo. I mean, this is, Stone Cold has definitely honed in on the Stone Cold gimmick at this point. He's 100% Stone Cold. He nails this promo. I feel like this match, why even put it on the card? I mean, we didn't see any of it. We saw none of it.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing I would add to all this is, Joe, you mentioned Flash Funk took a little bit of time setting up some of his stuff, and I think we should maybe forgive him the amount of aerodynamic resistance that those enormous fins on his curly boots, I mean, he probably had a hard time getting up to the top rope. Let's not fuck around because the show wasn't. It went straight into our next match. Bart Gunn defeats Hunter Hearst Helmsley by countout in 4 minutes and 35 seconds. The Honky Tonk Man graced us with his presence on commentary for this. After the bell, Hunter went over to commentary to answer a question about this woman that's been attacking Marlena. That was a little awkward and badly timed, but hey man, whatever. Commentary was talking about a lot of things that were not this match, which was a shame because, as we've noted before, both Bart Gunn and Hunter Hearst Helmsley are great workers, and the action in this match was looking good, especially those elevated wrist locks Bart had on Helmsley towards the beginning. Those looked fantastic. Things were going great until Bart Gunn gave us a Howard Dean-style yeehaw in the middle of the ring. My God.
And just like Howard Dean, we will never hear from him again.
Yeehaw! Bart should definitely never, ever do that ever again.
Oh, he won't be given the chance to. No worries.
I could hear the Bart Gunn story coming to an abrupt end in Vince McMahon's mind as soon as he let that yeehaw out.
The Bart Gunn screw job is in effect.
Somebody get Butterbean on the line.
Out of nowhere, Goldust came out of the entryway, and Hunter ran like hell away from him through the crowd, drawing the count-out victory for Bart Gunn. And that's it. This one was not drawn out in the least bit. Ryan, I thought that in terms of ring work, this was the best match of the night so far. What did you think of it?
Yeah, the ring work between these two were good. You know, my first thing that I noted was action between Bart and Hunter is very solid. These are two good ring workers, and, you know, they were. But before I could pretty much finish writing that down, Goldust comes down, interrupts it, and Hunter hightails it through the crowd and looks to be out of the fucking arena. The only thing I could really say is this episode really made me think I was justified in giving Bart the Jobber of the Week at the pay-per-view, because he absolutely deserves it at this point. But I couldn't have given it to him here because he technically won this match by countout. So I think the pay-per-view was the perfect place for his Jobber of the Week placement, and I'm glad I gave it to him there.
Yeah, I agree with your placement for sure. And people should go listen to last week's episode to hear all about Bart Gunn being a jobber. And this week, he's such a jobber that Jim Ross calls Hunter Hearst Helmsley over to the commentary table for an interview before the match. Like, total disrespect to Bart Gunn.
After the bell has rung.
After the bell rang, yeah. Like, yeah, don't worry about that guy in the ring. Get over here and
He's
answer
fucking
some questions.
worthless.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have much to say about this match. I mean, I thought it was fine. When Goldust and Hunter Hearst Helmsley went into the crowd, though, holy shit, these Nashville fans were assholes. They were tripping the guys. The one guy fucking put his leg out and took out Goldust. And then Helmsley's like falling up the steps because people are like fucking pushing him and shit. So, holy fuck. They really wanted to get their money's worth there.
Let's go to Dr. James Andrews to hear about his Wrasslin opinions regarding Shawn Michaels' knee problems. Dr. Andrews told us that Shawn doesn't need surgery. He just needs a little bit of physical therapy to rehab that knee up. This was pretty point blank clear that this was far from a career-ending injury.
Oh, man.
That Shawn made it out to be. Dr. Andrews was pretty goddamn confident about the recovery period and Shawn's ability to return. So this was brief, but it was significant. Ryan, what'd you have on it?
I mean, he tells us that this is a 5-year-old injury. and what he basically says is like, I don't know, maybe Shawn agitated it in that last
twisted it. Maybe he twisted it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, because from the x-rays, I can't find anything wrong with his knee, is basically what he was telling us here. And it looked like Dr. Andrews was just doing his best to not blatantly say, I think Shawn Michaels is a bullshitter.
Yeah, I mean, usually an orthopedic doctor would, if surgery is likely, they would maybe say, well, let's try some physical therapy for a few weeks. But Dr. James Andrews did not say that.
No.
He was like, it just needs physical therapy, and he's fine, people. Everything's good.
And let's be clear, the physical therapy is only because Shawn Michaels said the knee hurts. By what Dr. Andrews was saying here, he could find nothing wrong with his knee.
Pretty sure old Jim at one point said he probably just stepped the wrong way and could have tweaked it then.
Maybe an ibuprofen or so would have cleared it up, but
the balls on these people to air this like 4 days after he told us his career was over.
And I wish, with all the split screens we got last match, if we could have had a split screen of Bret Hart's face when this was being aired.
This was the first time, not that we see a ton of him, but we've seen him a few times, and this is the first time that James Andrews has looked like he didn't want to have any part in any of this.
You want me to say what?
All right. Third time's a charm, fellas. Let's do this. Our final match of the night. Psycho Sid defeats Bret the Hitman Hart by pinfall in 11 minutes and 55 seconds to win the World Wrestling Federation Championship. Bret looked great starting this off, and so did Sid, but I think that was more because of Bret's selling rather than Sid's offense. And I know I've said it already, but it makes such a world of difference having just JR and the King on commentary. They kept the energy levels up when the action in the ring slowed down. It was a constant stream of excitement and entertainment, whether it was from commentary or in the ring. I'm just so happy we're going to get this more often than not from here on out. Vince McMahon will be back here and there and sprinkled throughout all of the weeks, but we're getting there. We're getting to the permanent two-man booth here.
Just to add on to that, watching this match in my head, having JR and the King there and it being in the 2-hour format past the house show 2-hour Raws we got, this was the first time this felt like classic Raw.
Yeah.
Nothing but JR and the King. This brought me back. This felt like we're going to what I remember at this point.
Well, plus the honky-tonk man for a little bit, too.
Oh, yeah. JR and the King, they're already so comfortable with each other, and it's only going to get better from there. I loved it when Bret started working Sid's left knee out of the corner. It was a great visual representation of logical, methodical strategy, the hallmarks of a Bret Hart match. And then an amazing scene, Bret Hart applying the figure 4 leg lock on the corner post. Bret hanging down on the outside, Sid on his back in the ring writhing in pain. God damn, that looked good. According to my weekly research, that's the first time that was ever done on television. So I think it's going to happen a couple more times here during the course of the next couple months, but this was the first time. Unfortunately, though, we had to break the commercial on that move. We came back to both competitors in the ring, and Bret still working Sid's knee, the same knee that Austin took out earlier in the episode, by the way. Sid was really putting a ton of energy into his haymakers in this match. But then Austin, out of nowhere again, attacking Sid on the outside. Bret is able to get the sharpshooter on Sid up in the ring, but in what I thought was a pretty weak scene, Austin slowly climbed up onto the apron to gently tap Bret on the head with the chair. I hate to say it, but this whole scene just broke my suspension of disbelief. Of course, referee Earl Hebner was confused about the whole situation. That love tap was enough to stun Bret, just enough to let Sid apply the powerbomb, getting a pin. Earl Hebner laid out a very long 3 count for that pin. And that's it. In about 24 hours, Bret Hart has lost the WWF title once again. The crowd loves it, though. They started a Sid chant. Sid loves it, too, and conducts the chant. That was a great camera view there. But things aren't quite over yet, as the bell tolls and the lights go out. The Undertaker came out pretty quickly, and I popped my ass off when Sid laid the belt down in the ring like a line he was daring the Undertaker to cross. My nipples are getting hard just thinking about it again. Taker stepped right up to Sid. They went nose to nose, chin to chin, eyeball to eyeball. And we got a fantastic look at our main event at WrestleMania 13 as we faded to black. Joe, despite what I thought was a poorly worked finish, the rest of the match, Sid's victory, and the WrestleMania taint tickler all had me popping my ass off here. What did you think of this match and the way that Raw ended tonight?
Well, we're doing something unusual for this time period in the 90s here, and that's playing hot potato with the WWF title a little bit, which kind of turned you off a little bit, but Sean kind of threw them a curveball here, so they had to do what they had to do.
Regardless of what Dr. Andrews thinks.
Yeah. We are on the road to Wrestlemania, as Dr. James Andrews would say. We only have, a month to go? A little bit over a month. So, we got to get this shit rolling, you know? Normally they know what they're doing by the Royal Rumble, but, had some things happen to change it up. And did we know about The Undertaker getting the winner of this match before it started?
Very beginning of the episode, they told us.
Okay.
But that's the first when we kicked off at the beginning of the episode, they brought that up the first time they attempted this match.
Yeah, they looped it back to the 4-man, and that since Undertaker was the runner-up in the 4-man, that automatically gave him number 1 contender status. But they didn't say anything about that at the time. They only mentioned it for the first time tonight.
I assumed that they had mentioned it before this match at some point, but just wasn't sure. But they mentioned it during this match, so it made sense to me. The chair shot from Austin, yeah, you're right. It was a little weak. He hit him in the back, and he barely hit him. But this was the one faux pas from commentary. They were, he bashed him right in the face with that chair. I was like, come on, guys. Let's
just say nothing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, Hebner doesn't see it. He's just a terrible referee. He doesn't see it. But I don't know. I think this is okay we never see the WWF title change hands on Raw. So we saw it here. And the other thing we saw, like you mentioned, was Bret Hart applying that figure 4 around the ring post, which I pop my ass off every time I see it. And yeah, we're going to see that a lot more over the next several months, but that was awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you guys with really strong match, except for the finish here. Bret does a good job of making Sid look good, just like Shawn Michaels has done in the past. And Sid does a few things to look good here, too. His clothesline on Bret looked good, and Bret sold it very well. And I thought they worked the story between these two guys pretty good. We had Sid playing the monster, pulling it off pretty well. We had Bret Hart playing the quick technical wrestler, and that was hammered home with the move both you guys have pointed out, but I have to, too. The figure 4 around the ring post, that's one of those moves that if you don't pop your ass off after seeing that, I don't think you enjoy wrestling. That was just really great shit and pretty fun to watch. These two guys put on a good final match, and then right at the end, Stone Cold has a weak hit on him. If he would have really wrapped him with that chair, this ending would have been better, but he just lightly tapped him with the chair, and that was enough to send Bret just buckled over for whatever reason. And then, the shitty ref, Earl Hebner, he doesn't see a single thing. He turns around and just dumbfounded as to why Bret Hart is laying there, and he decides to lay a screw job to Bret yet again here and allow Sid to powerbomb and get the win. So could have had a stronger ending to it, but I thought the build-up and the actual ring work between these two guys was really solid.
Yeah, agreed there. And while we were talking about it, I remembered the right before the weak ass chair shot from Austin, Bret had Sid in the sharpshooter, and Sid was trying to push up out of it, and Jim Ross was just losing his shit on commentary about what a beast Sid is and how strong he is to try to power out of it. Man, what a great scene all around. As I said, that was the end of our episode, so let's take it on over now to highlights and lowlights. Ryan, why don't you go first, please?
My highlight, I'm going to go with this final match. I thought Bret and Sid put on a pretty good show. The ending could have been a little bit better, but I think that's being a little bit of a nitpicking dickbag. So I'm going to go with the final match as the highlight. The low light, I got to just go with interruptions. There are interruptions left and right in so many of these matches where we're either doing a split screen or a run in. Yeah, the low light for me tonight is interruptions.
My highlight is the cross-promotion teaser with ECW. I thought it was very well done. We've had some bullshit with Billionaire Ted skits and all this other shit with WCW, fake Razor, fake Diesel. But WWF had a friendship with ECW that's going to be a good thing, and I like hearing about that and look forward to seeing it next week. My low light is... Ryan, I agree with you that I liked that final match. However, I did not like the taint tickling before the 0 for 2. I don't think it was necessary. I think that Steve Austin interfering with the chair in the match would have been enough, to keep that going. So that's my low light.
That's a great point. And you know what? This is not on my list of highlights and lowlights, but you mentioned it. Fake Razor and fake Diesel. We haven't seen them. They haven't been mentioned. They don't exist as of right now, right?
I think they're gone.
I think they're gone too.
Well, you kind of spoiled the one of the news clips for later.
Shit. I'm sorry.
They are officially dropped.
Nice.
They are gone.
Oh, nice. Thank God. Now, if we can just get Mero's knee to pop.
We'll all be popping our ass off.
For my highlights and lowlights, I'll do my lowlight first because it's a minor one. This was a great episode all around.
Yeah, I agree with that.
My lowlight was Rocky versus Leif Cassidy, just because it was low energy and I don't know, just kind of felt a little disappointing to me. And my highlight, though, again, a tough one because it was such a great episode all around, but I ended up going with the finish to the episode, not necessarily the final match. That scene of Sid laying the belt down like the line and just making that grand sweeping gesture like, step on up, Undertaker, and he did the stare down. Just that whole scene was fucking amazing.
When they were going to kiss.
Yes. Yes, it added a certain amount of tension to the scene that I appreciated. It was like Goldust was directing it.
And romance.
The romance. Romance cliffhanger.
Will they? Won't they?
Next time their positions will be swapped, so we'll see the tear on the Undertaker's cheek. Joseph, do you have some more contemporary Wrasslin news from on and around February 17th, 1997 for us?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I'll go through it quickly here. From the Wrestling Observer, I tried to find some information on the Shawn Michaels situation to see if Dave Meltzer maybe had something to say about the Shawn Michaels Bret Hart deal, but nothing there really. But Dave Meltzer does seem to think that the knee injury angle is a major work, but he seems to think that Shawn Michaels just needs a mental break from wrestling.
That was what he told us last week, right?
Yeah, nothing in there about Bret Hart, so I'll keep reading and see if I can find some information on that. WCW is working on upping the ante on the Monday Night Wars and already discussing a second live show during the week, likely to air on TBS on Thursday nights. So we all know that Thunder became a show, but that was not until about a year after this. But they are in talks of having a second show.
And then SmackDown, that doesn't come till what, 99, 2000?
Yeah. Rumors are circulating that Shawn Michaels asked Scott Hall if there was a spot for him.
Oh, jeez.
Ahmed Johnson apparently spent the night in the hospital the night before this Monday Night Raw show.
Yeah, they brought that up, but I just thought, it was part of the story.
Well, you guys are going to love what happened to get him there. It's believed that Farouk splintered a board on February 9th that stuck Johnson's arm and later got infected.
Oh,
so it was that damn 2x4.
God.
So Farouk properly hit him with it and splintered the board.
And that's why we have the shorter board now. They had to cut off the splinter.
The broken end.
And that's why Johnson refuses to hit anyone with it, because he's afraid of giving him a splinter.
Well, I mean, it still stands that board is doing nobody any good.
No.
Dave Meltzer comments on the Goldust is not gay promo / interview from tonight that was done, and he seems to think that this was done because Goldust is not getting enough cheers as a babyface.
Because you custom made his gimmick to be a heel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
But now they're going to cheer him because Marlena told us that he's not gay. So now we're going to cheer. Dave Meltzer really enjoyed the tag team match tonight, saying that the Headbangers look really impressive and that Jeff Hardy took some great bumps.
Yeah.
Most of the WWF roster will be leaving for Europe on February 19th, so they'll be running a skeleton crew, which is one reason why the ECW guys are needed.
Oh, okay.
Brian Pillman appeared at a February 14th house show, interfering in a match involving Stone Cold Steve Austin. It is believed that Brian will be back on TV by April. Vader was sent to fat camp at Duke University and has reportedly dropped 40 pounds.
Oh,
my God.
Of
You'll
blood.
barely notice.
Of blood from that last match.
And last but not least, he's gonna puke.
Oh.
Darren Drozdoff, a former member of the Buffalo Bills, is currently being trained by Tom Pritchard.
Good old draws.
Nice.
And that is all.
Thank you, Joseph. Illuminating, as always. And that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW. Just add @gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on social media and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin' Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and let your friends know how much cooler they would be if they became Rawheads like you and me. Next week on Wrasslin' Raw, we're going to be releasing our Christmas episode. It's going to be a good time. We're going to sit down around the fire, give each other our gifts, talk about our Mount Crushmores, and just review the season and the year. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason. This has been Wrasslin' Raw.